Hello, everyone. It is that time of the week again. That's right. We are here to talk a little more Gundam. This is one of my favorite days of the week, and I wanted to bring in a couple more people. How's it going, everyone?
Yeah, it's going great. Same as always. Except that we're missing one member, but we replace him with two other ones, so let's see where this goes.
Yeah. Well, Bright. It would be nice for Brightest Day to be here, but he's currently getting ready for the big Vegas meetup, so I can't blame him for that.
Yeah, we should all keep our eyes open on the papers in case if he shows up out there naked.
Wow.
Yeah, he can lose everything in a second. We were gonna wonder
look
who
out
is this
for the
crazy
phrase,
person?
Naked rampage.
He's not wrong.
No confidence.
Well, let's go around real quick and introduce everyone. Of course, as often, if not always, we have Fenrir with us. How you doing down there?
Doing pretty great.
That's right, that rookie pilot. Been working hard.
Yeah, I've been working hard. 0 crashes. Still not a lot of better pay or medical care, but I'm doing great. Pretty healthy myself, so.
You're getting in the flight time. That's what matters.
Yeah, that's what matters.
And with us as well, we have the intel officer, Mr. Chris, the unpaid intel officer.
Yep. Hello, everyone.
Always glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's always fun coming and talking with y'all guys. With all you.
Oh, it always brings us together. Events like this, like a funeral. So sad.
Difference is it's not 100%. Difference is it's less sad, actually.
And today we have a bit of a special guest, one who's been a frequent commentator in the chat, the agent, whose allegiance you may have to question just slightly. Agent Decibel.
Defender of all supervillains, scourge of all heroes, and somehow still has yet to do the job right when it comes to killing all heroes. Seriously, you've been slacking off, Decibel.
All in good time. This is Agent Decibel on assignment.
Ooh, assignment. So I take it I'm up for audit now?
Just
that information's restricted.
Just be careful there because and the intelligence community has a lot of information on you, bud.
So yeah,
we're a closed book.
We're here to talk about some Gundam. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's not talk about me. I'm not secretly plotting to rule the world for my space base.
Musai.
We're all planning that. One person in this round table that is not planning to take over the world. Hell, my name alone should be a symbol of that.
Okay, whatever you say, Shiraku.
I wanted to just look like a Musai.
And you do it well.
I'd say you're just missing the helmet.
Give it time.
Yes.
When I'm ready to declare world conquest, the helmet goes on.
When you declare,
and then yes, the helmet stays on during sex.
Nice one. Nice touch. Nice touch. And the helmet stayed on.
Anyway, let's get into this, shall we? We are covering some more Gundam today. Let me get myself set up. Flying solo a little bit. I don't have I don't have my henchmen here to give me the assistance today that I would normally rely on. So we are going to kind of make do a little bit with what I have available. So apologies in the meantime until I can hire some proper henchmen. But Agent, we'll talk later.
I got you covered.
So, as always, we are here to cover Mobile Suit Gundam. And for today's episode, we are on episode 12, The Threat of Zeon. As always, we will be going through the episode and taking some short breaks as we go to discuss it and take questions from the audience. I'll be ready to start, and we can begin. So, the episode begins in Zoom City, with a large crowd gathering for the funeral of Garma Zabi. Inside of the palace, Dagwin, his father, listens to a
God,
recording
I'm
from
really
Garma.
so much tempted to make a song about this.
A recording from Garma about how he plans a large military victory. Caecilia comes in and tells him that while she understands how he's feeling, he must make his appearance as the strong leader of Zeon. Dagwin, Girin, Dozel, and Caecilia walk out on the stage before the crowd and take their seats. As we see, it's quite a funeral they have.
Well, when you have the most favorite and most attractive looking of the...
Oh, come on, he was a little prick.
Oh, bye-bye. Yeah,
How dare he speak ill of our Lord and Savior Garma Zabi?
Agent, the intelligence community is not happy that you pre-executed him.
The intelligence community has very little intelligence to begin with. We're not worried.
Hey, we're the ones that are feeding your department numbers.
So you think?
We know. That's why we're the intelligence community.
Sorry about that. Had to pay a tip. But yeah, what I was gonna say is the guy's a little prick.
I mean, you kind of
Past tense.
It certainly helps in war to have something of a pretty face to put on posters. Something that gets the people back home cheering. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay, who that is not female or either playing for the other game would cheer for this face?
Garma had his loyal followers.
I think we're getting
Yeah,
feedback from Fenrir.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot.
Fenrir, do you have headphones on?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, but I think the problem is I can hear me. I can work through it, but... Okay, so... yes. Real quick, let's greet in the chat. Cold Era, who says hello, good sirs? And hello to you.
Only 3 people. We started a little weak today.
Hey, I will take 3 over none. 3. These are the 3, or now 5 best viewers.
Well, technically
to have.
2, not counting Decibel. It was in the comments too, but yeah, it's better to have just 2 than none.
Yep. So, getting back to it. Back on Earth, Zeon officer Rambarel and his lover, Crowley Haman, fly through Earth's atmosphere in their Zanzibar cruiser, along with some accompanying Komusai capsules. They have spotted a white base, which has finally made it into the Pacific Ocean, and Rama decides to go after them. Amuro solemnly tinkers with Gundam spare parts in his room, and Frau comes in to Haro to deliver his meal. Haro notices that Amuro seems sad, and that his brainwaves are low, and Frau calls him back to her. Which is, I think, a pretty good point to pause again to talk about. Is we get a couple things here. One, we get the new antagonist for the time being of Rambarel, who's one of my favorite characters in the series.
Who's obviously a very great. Well, you gotta see some tactic mind there. I mean, the character's presented in the form he's sitted. Seems like a tactical mind.
He is one of the greatest heroes within Zeon. Sadly, he was. He didn't.
Yeah, but
we'll get to that.
Yes.
Yeah, but I just feel he's getting cucked by a wife like that.
Oh, you talk about that's a man who has a good woman at his side.
Seriously?
It's a shame that they never actually did get married.
There's no treason plot behind any of that?
No, she's very loyal and she loves and cares for Rumbarall.
Okay, that's a first.
In some of the other series, you do see meet these two again, and they do legitimately love one another. They are very close.
I like the fact that he brings her along. In a lot of ancient cultures, they would bring their wives and children with them into battle to give them extra incentive to win.
And she is a civilian, so I mean, it's very interesting that she can tag along with Rumbarall to Earth.
So it'd be safe to assume she slept her way onto the ship.
Well,
she definitely did. She definitely did keep his bed warm.
But with
You have
them
a
not
good woman
getting
to go back
married,
to.
I mean, they're not getting married. What do you expect? You know, to get married, to get divorced, he loses all of his mecha. It'd be kind of bad.
Karen took the kids and the giant robot.
Well, I mean,
Take the kids, leave the robot.
by the end of it all, we do see how it all ends for both of them.
But
Well,
again,
at least
that's
she's not as useless as the last girl. Oh, so glad to see her die. She was so useless.
Icelina.
Yeah.
You
Well,
sexist.
So, this
You
is
wish for
Almost
female
as useless
character
as
to
Dharma.
die.
well. This is actually something that
they
last night I
cannot
was
be
watching
useful.
the show with Ironcaster. This episode with Ironcaster, and something that also occurred to me when last week we were talking about how useless the previous episode was. But I mean, if we actually had two couple slides to where Amuro is sitting there tinkering and everything. Caster, do you want to move ahead?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just double checking that audio. I think it is you giving some audio feedback, Fenrir.
How?
Let's see, testing.
It's
Still there.
Hello.
Maybe-
Testing 1, 2, 3.
It's
Well, the problem is we're getting the feedback of everyone else. It's not you. It's I can hear myself.
and I can hear myself.
Darn you, Fenrir.
What the hell did I do?
But anyways, if you look at Amuro here, he looks very much down and worn out. And there was a point in the episode where he actually is being plagued by images of Icelina aiming a gun at him. And so it does kind of, that episode actually does play a role into Amuro's conscious state right now, where he's questioning, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Who was that, and why did she want to kill me?
It's definitely left some scars on him, on his psyche.
Definitely.
I would be more questioning why a girl would be dumb enough to go on the hull of the ship where she could slide and actually point a gun. She should have shot instead of talk. Why?
Because it's a kids show. What do you expect?
The stairway was destroyed. What would you expect?
From what I've been seeing from Gundam, I really don't recommend calling this a kid's show. Just
No.
say a teen show. Or a young adult show.
It could be mature.
Hey, I was about 8 years old when 8 or 9 years old when this show came out. So, or when
God,
it was aired in the United States.
Jesus, the crap the modern 8-year-olds of today are getting is sad compared to this.
Luckily, I want to try and bring that back. So that's one of the things I like about this, of being able to share this with everyone. And in the scene here, you get to see that Amuro is very out of it, zoned out in a very robotic way.
Yeah, like I said, he's being haunted by those like psychological scares. I mean, literally in this scene right here, Amuro is eating robotically. He's not conscious of himself doing it.
Yeah, you don't see a soul in his stare. It's just guidance. Like you're in autopilot.
Yeah.
Fenrir, I'm going to mute you for a minute just to read through the next little section, just because of that feedback.
Sure.
Unless there's any other questions from the audience, I think we'll move on. Is there anything else any of you guys would like to bring up here?
No.
All right. On the bridge, Sayla Mass finds a problem with the engines. The orphans come running in with the vacuum, and Bright yells at them to leave. They claim they want to help rather than play, and Bright tells Mirai that he's going to take a break. He goes over to the orphans and apologizes, thanking them for the help before he enters his chambers, reclining in his chair. However, he doesn't get to relax very long, though, because Ramba and his fleet have been spotted. Back in Zoom City, Garma's casket is brought out, and Caecilia asks what happened to Shar. Giran says he's returned home, and Caecilia calls one of her men over and whispers something into his ear. Ramba begins firing on the white base, which cannot escape because of the engine trouble. The white base, meanwhile, flies into a thundercloud, and the lightning begins flashing around them. Frau and the orphans, who've lived on space their entire lives, have never encountered a thunderstorm before, and so they think it to be a weapon of the enemy. Amuro looks out the window and gets flashes of the crashing Gaw and Icelina brought on by the thunderstorm. On the Zanzibar, the ship of Garma, or the ship of Rambaral, the soldiers begin to panic at what they believe to be a new weapon of the Federation. But Ramba assures the men that assures them and Haman that it's just a natural phenomenon of Earth. So, sorry, catch up here. Did you see Amuro
each side is thinking because they both have majority crew on their ships that have been born in space, except for Bright and Amuro, who were actually Earthborn. They think each other has a weapon that is actually just a thunderstorm, which is something that neither side has seen their entire life.
Yeah,
Right.
Plus there's the paranoias of war, where a soldier's constantly on for the attack 24/7.
Yep, those fight or flight instincts kick in, and every movement, everything can be an enemy, can be something that can kill you. Thoughts, Agent?
Well,
God, he's not even here.
No, he's there.
Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
I was asking if you had any thoughts about it.
Actually, I've seen other stories where spaceborne individuals coming to Earth are scared over lightning. It just reminded me of a episode from Robotech. Scott Bernard was terrified of lightning as it hit, and he ran for cover. It just kind of brought that back to me.
No, I mean, can you imagine a phenomenon that you've never seen before? I mean, in space, what they do is they have controlled weather systems that do rain on the quote-unquote ground, but nothing like this. There's no lightning, there's no thunder. It's just a rain shower for them. And now on Earth, seeing the massive weather systems that the Earth has, especially thrown off by the climate change, and also the colony that was dropped on, how much the weather was shifted because the colony was dropped on Seattle or Sydney.
Yeah, guys, sorry, but I gotta leave. The 20 minutes are up.
All right.
Well, sorry to hear you go.
Thank you for taking the time, Fenrir. Is there
Yeah,
anything you'd like to say before you head out?
Not much, just that life and work are too hard to constantly plan because anything can come up. And so, yes, just so you to prepare. Always prepare ahead. Yeah. Peace, and who will survive next time or something?
Good day and good hunting.
Yeah. Peace, guys. Peace, Decibel. Peace, Chris.
See you around.
Peace, Ironcaster. Sorry if I can
Take care, buddy.
But yeah, like I was saying, with the space colony drop that really threw off an already crazy weather system for the Earth. That all that debris and that heat and everything being thrown up into the atmosphere.
Yeah, I that's something that you don't really get into, but you have to figure that living in the colonies, the amount of weather they probably have is maybe nothing more than just you'll expect maybe some rain and maybe snow.
I mean, we do see it. We do see that kind of system in some of the other series where they say, "Hey, we got a rain shower scheduled for here." I think it was in Gundam Origin, even though Gundam Origin is technically not canon to the main Gundam timeline, it still kind of does throw in some interesting elements like scheduled rain showers that they program themselves. Or in Gundam 0083 War in the Pocket, they do have a rain shower that just kind of sweeps through for some of our main characters in Side 6.
Right, which also there's also meaning they probably wouldn't be used to which really, when you think about it, brings up some interesting questions about how that works in a colony.
I mean, all I can think of it is like they have the clouds and everything kind of form in the center and kind of allows somehow have it kind of shoot out towards the walls, like to kind of water the grass and trees and everything that inhabits the inner lining of the colonies.
Let me get caught up here real quick.
There's Rumbarall saying, "Don't worry, this is just a natural phenomenon."
Mm-hmm.
You did actually bring up a good subject about the colony drop, the geological and atmospheric changes that would have caused on the Earth.
Yes, I mean
that would have been really interesting to play that out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was mentioned in the Gundam Origin, and also there is historical evidence of massive catastrophic events that do temporarily shift the climate a bit. For example, Krakatoa, that sent up enough debris into the atmosphere to kind of cool the planet for a couple of years. Same thing with another volcanic eruption that happened a couple of years before that. And there is a theory that back in AD 5536, there was a massive volcanic eruption in China that completely shifted the entire political, social, and economic and agricultural system of the entire Earth. It caused a plague that swept across Eurasia. It caused famines that destabilized empires and probably helped in ending Justinian the Great's reconquest of the Roman Empire. And he had to end his conquest in return because of civil unrest, because of famine and plague. So I mean, the weather does have a huge impact, and you can never underestimate a massive explosion like a powerful volcano that throws up a lot of debris into the atmosphere that can throw the atmosphere off.
Be a good weapon to use against a hero city.
Yeah.
Taking notes, Agent?
Absolutely.
I'd expect nothing less.
Just make sure you coordinate with us next time. We don't want another Istanbul incident.
What's this we stuff?
You have no idea, my friend.
Yep. Real quick, I couldn't remember if I did get a chance to say hello, but I want to say hello to 540 Studios, the great Jace, who will be hopefully on next week. I'm looking forward to having him on to get some thoughts.
Hopefully. We're just about to do the episode of Garma's Fate.
Well, I mean, surprise, you kind of find out about Garma's fate Not that it was really much surprise from the title of the episode.
Hey, look, there's Brightest Day.
Yep. And it was giving us not one, but 2 thumbs up.
You can't
Speaking
get
of thumbs up, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. I got it.
Welcome, Jace. Welcome, Brightest Day.
Yep. So, real quick, I'm going to get back into this to get us to that halfway point. And one of my favorite little parts of the show.
What would that be? I wonder what.
The white base comes across a cluster of small islands and lands there, hiding. Ryu runs into Amuro's room to tell him to get in the Gundam, but he finds Amuro's curled up in the bed with lifeless eyes and a blank face. Ryu slaps him around a little bit and brings him to life.
Of course.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Gundam episode without someone being slapped.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, just because he's got to be slapped a little bit. Just kind of enjoy that. Real quick. Hey, Mike, welcome back. And I see that you were talking about packing for Vegas. Hope you have fun.
Viva Las Vegas.
Yep. Hopefully you'll be able to meet up with Brightest Day and have some good memories.
Hopefully no one drops a colony on it.
Come on. This is Vegas, not Australia.
Okay, hopefully it doesn't get reclaimed by the desert then.
If it worked the first time.
Amuro suits up and seems to get claustrophobic in his suit. Rama gives up, but Komusai finds the white base and he pulls back around. Rama gets into a special... Oh, hang on. Sorry. Getting a little caught around. And I get to do this.
You gotta update that.
I know. Oh, darn. I have to add a little bit of animation. I'll get to it. Mike, you guys, hopefully one of the next ones will be out in the Midwest. And that one I will certainly be able to make. Like Mall of America would even be great. Or Tennessee. So, back with Ron Burrell. His men managed to find the white base, and he begins to suit up and get into his mobile suit, the Goof, which here we see in all its glory. Oh, this is one of my favorite suits. So, sorry, just had to take a moment to appreciate that first appearance.
It is a classic.
It's a thing of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Its intention was to replace the Zaku as the main ground unit for Zeon on Earth. I do know that in one of the mangas that I read, they actually kind of as a little Easter egg, it does have the goof hiding in the background in like the first issue when the Papua that was going to go resupply Shar in Vote to Attack is leaving Solomon. It's kind of, the goof is sitting in the background, ready to ship out.
So, worth mentioning here that we do see one other little upgrade to the hardware of this suit, and that is a shield
On the left-hand arm.
Mm-hmm. And yes, the 8th MS Team version is quite excellent. That customs goof is one of my favorites.
It is definitely a really fun looking one, especially with the Gatling gun.
Ramba gets into his special mobile suit, the MS-07B goof, and leaves the Zanzibar with his wingmen, Akus and Kozan Graham, in both of their Zakus. Amuro launches in the Gundam, but seems to be suffering from some battle fatigue. Let's see. Forward. Okay. They launch Amuro, who is out of it, which is I still can't believe they decided to launch him like this.
He looks out of it bright. I'll just send him out anyways. He'll be fine.
He could barely get himself dressed.
Yeah, he literally had to have Ryu put his pants on. Finding out things about your coworkers more than you wanted to know.
Yep, exactly, Mike. He is not in a good condition to fight here.
Good.
Which they launch him, and he's immediately freaks out, running the Gundam right into the ground.
Amuro's grounded, literally.
Mm-hmm. A heat rod reaches for him, knocking him down the cliffside. As he looks up, we see he finally sees the mobile suit of Rama-Ral. So one of the weapons that the goof has is this tentacle thing that protrudes from its forearm or from its wrist.
If you look at the right arm right now, you see a little hole right in the wrist area, and that's where the cable for the heat rod ejects, and it releases an electrical current through it that shorts out or injures whatever mobile suit is unfortunate to receive the jolt.
The Omega Red treatment.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a good reference.
First thing I thought of when I saw it.
So, Ramba, flanked by his wingman Zaku's, seems to have the upper hand. The gun cannon and the gun tank come in, aiding Amuro. Oh,
and this is one of those weird moments in the show. If you want to go a couple slides forward.
Also, we see them. Ramba sends out the other two Zakus to fight and goes for Amuro. Amuro fends off his attacks and
sends out a cracker.
Yes, this is one of the other new weapons that the Zeon forces deploy here, which is the cracker, a glorified grenade.
Yeah.
Yes. So one of the things that Chris was going to mention is, or that Chris brought up last night when we were watching through this, was the fact that Amuro's weapon here changes from the beam rifle.
A crudely drawn one at that.
Yes. To his bazooka.
Hey, T-shirt.
Hello there. So get my notes rearranged. Also, more terribly drawn art.
Gundam just had a bad experience with a Haitian witch doctor.
Well, it is the Federation.
Maybe that's why it was so feared. Is that it was constantly rearranging and rechanging in size, so they could never get a consistent look at it.
They have a problem with the consistency to begin with.
Yeah, we can see here that the Gundam's bazooka is going to be out of commission for the rest of the episode.
Yep. So the heat rod here winds up causing his ammunition to explode. Also, Amuro's holding his shield upside down.
Someone was drinking on the job.
The gun cannon and gun tank come in to aid Amuro, and Rama sends the other two off to his other Akos and Kozen to fight the others. And goes for Amuro. Amuro fends off his attacks and gives the goof a punch to the stomach. He quickly takes out his beam saber, but Ramba blocks the attack with his shield, shouting that his goof is no Zaku, boy. No Zaku.
No Zaku. Oh, that's a wonderful line.
I've got it on a t-shirt. After increased pressure from the 3 Federation suits, Ramba pulls back, and the Zanzibar implements its blinders. Its blinding bright lights will allow them to escape and leave the white base for now. So Ramba is a much better tactician than our boy Garma was.
The difference between Garma and him is that Garma put his emotions and ego before the resources in his troops. Ramba Rao's smarter. He puts the resources above the ego. That's what Garma got killed, and that's why nothing of value was lost when he died.
Well, I mean, another thing is that Garma put his faith in Char and did not realize Char was going to literally throw him under the white base in the end.
Throw him under the white bus?
Yes. White
Well,
base.
The kid was willing to walk away from these entire Zeon Principality, even his family honor, for a woman. Like, seriously? You didn't deserve that. So, he's dead. The world's a better place.
And yes, as Mike points out, Ramba also has had much more experience.
Yes.
For one thing, he's an older gentleman who's definitely fits the archetype of that grizzled veteran.
Yes. And in fact, actually, we do get a later on mentioning of his family and their history with Zeon. And that is all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying.
Yes, and he did get the girl. He's got the girl. He's continuing to impress her.
Rumble Rao's a man to be watched.
Yep. Oh, so here's the blinders, which did quite a job. So I'll go ahead and get through this last bit, and then we can talk a little bit about the episode overall. In Zoom City, Giran begins his speech.
Shall someone be reading the speech?
Yep. Oh, let's see, Rambo.
I got a speech in front of me. I don't know if it's good enough to read, but
Giran begins his speech. The white base and everyone aboard it watches the broadcast, which is seen everywhere. In a bar somewhere, Char watches as well. And as he finishes his drink, a man comes along, paying for another. Char recognizes him as one of Caecilia's men, and the man offers him the title of commander. Giran ends his speech with the shouts of "Hail Zeon," which the crowd there continues. The white base crew watches on in horror, along with Amro, but Bright calls out a bunch of nonsense. The episode ends with white base flying off as the cries of the crowd continue to echo out. And that's where the episode ends.
Foreboding. It is a threat from Zeon.
Very much so. So real quick, I wanted to grab these real quick last night as well, which in some of the other series we see, in some of the other series that come later, you come back to this moment, to this very speech. It's become one of these kind of moments to help set the time frame of when they are. And it works for a good extent to kind of point out that it's the heat of the battle. It's the heat of the war. It's at the highest point. Also, it's some really good quality animation.
Yeah, definitely. I still say that they need to go through and update the animation for the original Mobile Suit Gundam.
And then finally, just because they were in there, I had to get a couple good quality pictures of the goof that I think I'll just kind of hold up here for now for appreciating.
Great. It does look great.
So yeah, this was our episode. It it got me kind of thinking back to last week, to what we were saying, what seemed like a filler episode that wasn't so much.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about it last night when we were watching this together.
Well, at the same time, I feel like the Icelina was still relatively irrelevant, whereas the Garma, well, then again, I kind of go back and forth on that now that I have this episode for a little bit more context.
Though I will say that in the manga, they did flip something around that in the manga, and I also believe also in the in the movie, they did flip some events around to where this actually happened later on, not here. And that is, I do believe it's the
back
next
up. Let's go ahead and have a nice quality bit of the shot of the funeral, which was quite a good little point to bring up. Which, do you have that speech, or can you link me to that?
I mean, no, it's in a book. It's in the manga that I have right in front of me. So I don't have a digital copy. I have a interpretation and a reinterpretation of it from the 2001 release of the manga. So I mean, if you want me to read it out, I can.
I have an excerpt of it from the novelization I can go over.
So okay,
or from the Tomino novels.
So the next episode that we're going to be watching in both in the movie, that actually happens before before this. So Amuro goes home. Amuro comes home. Amuro goes home. What is it? Amuro, come home. Come home. That actually happens before this episode in the movie and also in the manga. So that kind of shifts around the whole reasoning as to why Amuro was feeling the way he did.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think the battle fatigue seems to be a good enough point here to really justify the way Amuro was acting.
Yes, it's just, I'm just saying, is like the reasoning behind it is shifted around. Instead of being him haunted by Icelina, it's about the events that happened in the next episode that gives him the battle fatigue.
I gotta give Gear on some credit. He's kind of a salesman. He took a useless turd and actually made it look valuable. I think he missed his calling.
It's not.
So speaking of salesman,
should it's his brother?
Should we cover that sales speech that you seem to be so fond of?
It's a fun speech. I just have to say. Do you want me to read it out, or do you want to?
I can do it. Give me a moment to clear the throat.
me.
I'm in proper attire for this, and I feel as though I should be the one to read his speech out.
Be like Huron, pretend you care.
We have lost a hero to our glorious noble cause. But does this foreshadow our defeat? No. It is a new beginning. Compared to Earth Federation, and the national resources of Zeon are less than 1/30th of theirs. Despite this major difference, how is it that we've been able to fight the fight for so long? It is because our goal in this war is a righteous one. It's been over 50 years since the elites of Earth, consumed by greed, took control of the Earth Federation. We won our freedom. Never forget the times when the Federation has trampled us. We, the Principality of Zeon, have had a long and arduous struggle to achieve freedom for all citizens of our great nation. Our fight is sacred, our cause divine. My beloved brother, Garmazabi, was sacrificed. Why? The war is at a stalemate. Perhaps many of you have been complacent. Such a lack of compassion is... It cuts out.
Oh, okay.
The Earth Federation has polluted our most cherished planet for their own greed. We must send them a message, but not composed of words. We have wasted too much time with words. We need action now. The Earthside elite must be taught a strong lesson for their evil corruption. This is only the beginning of our war. We have been putting more and more money into our effort towards making our military stronger than ever. The Earth Federation has done the same. Many of your fathers and brothers have perished valiantly in the face of a contemptible enemy. We must never forget what the Federation has done to our people. My brother, Garmazabi, has shown us that these virtues through their own valiant sacrifice. By focusing our anger and sorrow, we are finally in a position where victory is within our grasp, and once again, our most cherished nation will flourish. Victory is the greatest tribute we can pay to those who sacrificed their lives for us. Rise, our people! Rise, and take your sorrow, turn it in anger. Zeon thirsts for the strength of his people. Sieg Zeon!
Sieg Zeon!
Hail Zeon. And then during this speech, we have Char at the bar saying he was just a kid. That's why he was sacrificed. That's why he died.
He's not wrong. That is part of the component of why he was sacrificed, other than that being useless.
I don't know. Garma was able to conquer North America
His troops conquered North America.
under his leadership.
He sat in the pilot seat and barked orders that they would have done anyway. The guy was pointless.
He was. If you played the Zeonic Front game, he actually was on the front lines with them in his Zaku custom.
Never played the game. That would be nice if they would have had that in the show. But from what we've seen in the show, he was useless.
And also in the Journey to Jaburo game, if you play through a second time after you defeated it, they replace Garma in his DOP with Garma in his Zaku attacking the white base. He's carrying around a Magella cannon.
I take that personal.
It's a badge of honor. Hurts. Wear it.
And look, I come from a long line of great motivational speakers. In fact, I have a mentor.
Wow.
That is quite a fun scene.
VDF rule: no tears for strangers.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, you can see that there is motivation on both sides, and as we've seen over the course of the series, that neither side is wholly good. We've seen double crossing, dirty deeds of Zeon forces within their own ranks. We've seen what Garma does. But we've also seen a compassion for civilians coming from them, where they were dropping food and supplies for just average civilians. And we've also seen the Federation willing to imprison civilians for seeing military secrets. It's a dirty war, and there's ultimately that question that comes along of where do you go when you're in this?
Which is the lesser of two evils?
Exactly. Thank you.
That's a very subjective word. For some, the only evil is failure. Moralizing during war, that's for the historians. Once the war starts, the only goal is victory.
But for
you mean for the victors who write the history books?
Bingo.
But for the common folk who are the civilians who are not on the front lines, who are standing back at home, who are watching all this destruction,
well, they can join in.
They would have to see which is the wrongs and rights of both sides and choose which one is the lesser of two that we should join.
Well, they can choose the lesser of two, but it's not going to have any bearing on the war itself. That's between the soldiers. Like I said, you can moralize about it, but that's for the historians and, as you pointed out, the civilians.
Well, I mean, it also very much depends on who has the better resources, who has the better tactics and strategists, and but also if you do not have the manpower to fuel it all, it doesn't help in the end.
And I think what Giron did here was brilliant. He actually admitted that yes, they were at a disadvantage, but he inspired his troops to fight harder. For throughout history of wars, the willpower of the people can overcome the lack of equipment and resources.
And that's why
you fight hard enough, you will win.
And that's why you need the manpower to support the cause. That's why you need to show that it's a moral, just cause. I mean, literally, Giron here says it, that this is a moral, just cause. God has blessed it as so.
And perhaps he has. They are Zeon.
Well, I mean, we can have that discussion later on. No spoilers. No spoilers yet. But
this was a pretty good episode overall. I'd have to say.
Definitely a fun one.
Yep. Should we give a little review to? Should we go ahead and put a review for the thread of Zeon?
Agent, since you're the guest here, you start.
I like this episode because one, you introduced Ramarao. Two, it did show the exhaustion of the Fetties and all the nonsense they're going through. But also, you got to the point where you actually see a little bit of the inner politics of the Zabi family. You got to meet other members of the family, like Casilia's got more red flags than a communist parade. But Gozo makes up for that. But then you got the rousing speech at the end of this, which basically got the troops and probably the civilian population as well backing the cause, which gives them a great advantage. It may be momentary, granted, but it's an advantage. I think this is a very good episode. It was very enjoyable.
I agree. I think it was a good way to introduce to kind of help push the story forward. That we're getting a little closure and closing out the story of Garma, while at the same time introducing the next threat that is Rambaral to the forces of the White Base, as well as you get to see a little bit of something going on with Char. There's a lot to really pull out of this one, especially for the Zeonic side. And at the same time, Amuro, you are seeing the effects of all this battle taking a toll on him.
And just within 23 minutes.
Yeah, no, that too. Whereas it seems like a more modern show would try to stretch that out over an hour, and this manages to fit all of that into this time without anything that really seems like wasted time.
No, not at all.
The only thing you can maybe say is the orphans, but even then, it's showing that hey, even they're trying to pitch in and help out, and that it's that Bright is under pressure and he's starting to snap as well.
Yeah, I mean, like the kids, they're not trying to fool around. They want to be helpful. They're more than just orphans running around on a ship. They're trying to be. They look up to the older people, and they want to think of themselves as part of the crew, so they're willing to do anything to help out. And we see that later on in the show as well. They'll sometimes, if there's a fire, they'll sometimes grab an extinguisher to help put it out.
It does a good job to help kind of give the orphans some character and not just be a total drain. Although I still think they are, but
they could always play as decoys. That would help the Federation. Send them out with big targets. Problem solved. You get rid of the orphans. You get the enemy to be distracted. Everyone's a winner.
Okay. Yeah.
Overall, I think ultimately this is going to be I think it'll be like an 8.5. I think it's a really solid episode. I hesitate to say it's a 10 because I would say the battle might have been a bit of a downturn just because with the scale that we've seen is not quite as up to snuff as what we've seen with the likes of the Magellans and on all the tanks and that. It's not as impressive a battle as those, but it is still a good fight.
I mean, the only thing I see the use of that battle is as it was basically just an information collection battle. It was just there. It wasn't there to actually cause any damage. It wasn't there to win any victories. It was just there so that Rumbarall can get a sense of who is his enemy, what are their capabilities, what is it that they can do, what information can we gather on them, how many are there, so on and so forth. And just quick run in, hit, and then retreat. I mean, later on, about how my expertise is in guerrilla warfare. So this is very much like a guerrilla tactic attack to gain information. This episode is it's a very good episode. It's very well written. Like you both said, it shows us Amuro, his mental state, him becoming bogged down with fighting constantly, being thrown out in the Gundam every single time there's a fight. It shows us Bright is even under stress because they have been on the run constantly, and he is the leader, he is the captain of the ship, and he is all that pressure down on him. He has to make the decisions, he has to call the shots, he has to send people out to their death maybe. The kids, they're doing like I said, they're doing a job of trying to be productive. They don't want to be a pain in the butt, as most people think that they are. And the battle wasn't bad. Like I said, it was more than likely an information gathering battle, just a real quick hit and run. And
which makes sense considering that I believe Ramba even mentions they don't have a whole lot of information on the Gundam, on what they're fighting up against.
Yeah. I mean, when they first come across the white base, they said, we have a ship that's not matched up to our database. And Rumbarall is like, this has to be the white base. This has to be the Trojan horse. Let us tack real quick and get some information on them. And then you have Girin's speech. It's a well-written speech. It lays out every single bit about what the intention of the Zabi family is, and what the projected intention of the Zabi family is with Zeon. They claiming that they're fighting for freedom, and that this is ordained by God, that God is on their side. A normal trope to throw by both people on the good and bad side. It shows that that Girin is willing to use his own brother's death, even though Daegwyn says, I just want a small funeral with just blessing your brother's soul onto the next world. And Girin rejects that, says, no, we have to use Garma's death to incite the people to join us.
Girin is definitely set on with his thoughts to the war, to take advantage of every single thing that's thrown at them, to turn it to an advantage. And it shows he wants to win.
It shows that he has aspirations for something great. I mean, literally, when I'm watching the speech, I get images in my head of Hitler's Nuremberg speech, or not Nuremberg, but Munich speech, the one where the lines of SS soldiers are lined up before Hitler, and him gesturing, dramatically projecting his voice, and
everything's every single piece of it can be a show of force.
And go ahead.
It has to. Oh yeah, no, it makes sense to puff up your chest and put on a big show because anything and everything you do can be seen as propaganda in a time of war.
Yeah.
to make your side look as good as possible and to make the enemy look as bad as possible. To take a moment, to take the loss of a loved one and say, no, we're not going to take this lying down. We're going to mourn this, and we are going to overcome this loss.
And Bright's comments in the very end saying the Zombies are trying to turn the Zeon into a dictatorship. And if you know anything about what will happen later on, it's kind of a prediction of the future. Yeah, an interesting little history tidbit is that when Hitler was first rising to power, he actually took acting classes and learned so that he could better
Better emote for a crowd,
better perform before the crowd. And actually, there is no recording of Hitler just talking in a normal speech. Every single bit of Hitler's voice we hear is from him doing speeches. There's no recording of him just talking in a casual manner, except for one, and it was done purely by accident without his knowledge.
I remember hearing that one.
Because he made it mandatory that no recordings were to be around him, no reporters were to be around him when he is and the SS made sure to follow his order, which was no one was allowed to be around him when he is just kind of talking casually with fellow allies and subordinates. But when he was, I think in Lithuania, when he was over in Lithuania, a reporter, after Hitler gave a speech to celebrate the leader of Lithuania's birthday or something like that, this reporter went and he kind of held a microphone up to the door and recorded Hitler just talking about the current state of the war against the Soviets, about how he's worried about it because they're constantly throwing troops and tanks and planes at the German lines, pushing them back. And a German officer noticed this and ordered for that reporter to leave and destroy the tape, but he never did. He actually kept it, made a copy of it. The Soviets captured that copy for a time before it was returned to the family, and the son of this reporter held on to that, and still the first recording was given to a museum, I think. So there is, if you can find it, I found it by chance, someone playing the recording, but if you can, there's a copy on YouTube somewhere, someone saying, hey, this is the recording of Hitler talking about the state of the war. And Hitler actually had a very deep and soothing voice, oddly enough. It was when he's just talking in a very casual manner. It doesn't look like it goes with that gusto that he shows when he's doing his regular speeches.
I think with Giron, the thing with Giron and both Hitler, because I remember Hitler writing that the masses they're not moved by books, they're not moved by words, they're moved by speeches. And he was basically saying that for most of the population, they're driven by emotions. So for Giron, I think he took a note from that, is that to move the population, to move the masses, which a lot of times they're not smart enough to understand deep philosophical and logical arguments. It's just not what it is. But they are ruled by their emotions. And so what Hitler would do, the same with Giron, which I think Giron did the right thing by using this to his advantage, is that if we had gone through and just made if they'd gone through and made just like a quiet funeral, I think the masses would have been confused. Like, okay, this guy died. What's going on? Where are we going? They're looking for leadership. Giron took advantage of that and used the emotions and that speech to rouse the people all as one. It's kind of like light. When it's scattered wide, it's like a flashlight. But when you focus all the population, every industry, like a beam, when you focus that light, the closer it gets, it becomes like a laser and it will burn. And I think that's what Giron's intention was using the same thing that Hitler would do. Rouse the emotions. Don't use complex words. like Hitler had said, use it, make the words easy enough for even the layman to understand it. And that's what Giron did. He made a simple, short, but heavily emotional speech that was brilliant.
I mean, it's also something that it's kind of something very much similar to back during the American Revolution. The first year of the war was all about trying to, between the colonies and Britain, was about reconciliation with Britain, trying to end the war sooner. The colonies wanted reconciliation with Britain. They wanted to be acknowledged as fellow Englishmen, which Britain wasn't giving them that. And so one political writer named Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet called Common Sense, which was distributed across the colonies, talking about we're not going to get reconciliation with Britain. We're not going to we've been independent and free, ruling ourselves for so long until Britain decided to try and trample down on us, and no more. We need to be our own country. We need to be our own nation with our own laws, our own nation with our own representation. And this drove the masses of the American colonies to stand up against and say, we want freedom, we want freedom, we want to be our own country, against Britain, and finally say, okay, we declare our independence. And that was back then. That's how the information got spread. It wasn't done by broadcast. It was done by pamphlets, by books, by newsletters, and so on and so forth. And George Washington even had, I think George Washington even had these pamphlets read to the troops to kind of drive up morale a little bit.
If you can win the hearts, you've
Funny
won.
thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say, if you win the hearts of the men, you've already won half the battle.
Yes. I mean,
like,
how many times during the American Revolution, how many times did Washington get his butt kicked and kept on retreating until turning the tide of the war? And every time was just by saying, hey, hold on, don't everyone leave just yet. We need you just a little bit longer. We'll pay you a little more when the war is over with, so on and so forth.
One of the crazy things I learned a while back was just thinking about how fast now everyone saw Giron's speech as it happened. It's like they're talking about the Revolutionary War. I remember reading that on the day they signed the Declaration of Independence. Of course, they had to get it put on ships and across the ocean, which took time. It's like the most important day in North America happened on that day. And then I read in King George's diary on that same day, he wrote, nothing of importance happened today. It was just one of those things that stuck with me.
I mean, King George, he saw this as nothing. He thought he was going to
even
win.
Then, you got to remember that information took a long time to travel then.
About, I think, 6 months. 6 months to 3 to 6 months. I think
something to that effect. Real quick, saying hello there, Nerdporial. We're about an hour in now, and we've largely covered the episode. We're just kind of talking a little bit about morality and speeches.
Good to see you, Nerdporial.
Yep, you finally put a voice to the name. Guys, this has been a fun stream today, and I am so glad to have had you both on, and I definitely want to have you both on together again soon.
Appreciate it. I'd like to do this again.
Hey, I like talking with you guys.
Yep. War is bad. Well, the Ferengi also say war is good for business.
Well, war is bad unless you're in the Zaku. That's kind of cool.
Until you get a Gundam coming up to you, then you run.
Look. If I gotta go to war, I want a big robot. Is that so much to ask for? I just want to pilot a big freaking robot.
No shame in retreat if it serves a larger purpose.
It's a tactical
It's
withdrawal.
It's not a retreat. It's a tactical withdrawal in that situation.
Resources above ego. VDF rule.
Oh, so that's actually a pretty good segue. Let's, while we kind of start wrapping up, talk with you a little bit, Agent. You mentioned the VDF. Would you care to tell us a little bit about that? What is the VDF?
The VDF is the Villain Defense Foundation. It's an organization dedicated to the defense of natural order. Our job, we seek out, guide, and support those who are willing to risk everything in this crusade, what most people would call a villain.
But really, what is a villain?
Oh, that's got many different definitions. Usually it's weaklings who defy natural order, is what they would call them. That's what you basically call your hero. Ones who want to protect the status quo, not allow nature to take its course. When someone comes up, like An Sabanur, says, hey, this has got to change, what do? They call him a villain.
It really just sounds like, ultimately, it sounds more like the loser's whining, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that would be the hero side. If you got to call someone a villain and you're whining about it, you chose the wrong side.
Philosophical. A lot of philosophical decision making there.
And just to have a little reference, because, I mean, come on. How often am I going to be able to talk about Apocalypse? I want to bring him up on screen for a minute.
Seriously. He was a great man. One of our best.
Our best?
Well, that beyond that, the information's restricted.
It's funny that all these people, villains because of their philosophy and way, are always the ones that lose.
That's a matter of perspective.
No, I think the track record. I think the track record plays out for itself.
Oh, it's still early in the game. And yes, Nerdporial, I agree. Seek Zeon.
This is fun. I mean, it seems like with most quote unquote villains, it's their own ego that gets in their own way.
That's why one of the rules: resources over ego.
A very good point.
But most of the time, the villains either fall to their own ego, or they fall to their second in command, third commands, someone that they trusted's ego instead.
Oh, if the second in command is more attuned to do the job properly, so be it. Right of succession.
I mean, for example, last night I was watching some
behind that decision.
Oh, I was gonna bring up an example of the ego. Was last night I was watching some of the Justice League, the animated series, and the villains like Gorilla Grodd and Shade, they had the Justice League captured, and someone brought up, well, we have them captured now. Why don't we just off them now? To which Grodd, of course, says, no, this is so simple. No, we have to make a spectacle of this. Because his own ego gets in the way.
See, Nerdporial understands. The Sith, the rule of two. He gets it.
But also, the Sith eventually turn on themselves anyways. For example, Darth Plagueis was ready to completely discontinue. Darth Plagueis and his master, Darth Tanabris, were ready to dismantle the rule of two altogether and establish a permanent rule of the Sith underneath a master and apprentice. They were ready to abandon the idea of the master embodies the power, the apprentice craves for the power, and then for the continuation of the continued strengthening of the Sith, the apprentice must rise up above the master. Darth Plagueis was ready to discontinue that mentality and basically stagnate the powers of the Sith.
Oh, I remember that. That's when he was getting drunk and the dark side told Sidious, now's your chance, so he electrocuted him to death. The dark side will not tolerate weakness. And once you become the final ruler and no more of my better killing me, you stagnate the dark side. Not having that. So Plagueis, as much as I liked him, he had to die. And then Sidious decided to repeat the process. So he had to die. That's what we call a pattern. If you're weak, you die.
And it always seems like villains are always repeating that pattern.
It's the ego every time.
So that seems like it's a weakness, one would say.
In certain respects, yes, absolutely. And that way, when their ego gets the best of them and they lose, they have it coming and they lose our support.
Well, this has been a lot of fun today. I think this is probably the best place we could probably wrap it up. And we'll just take a minute real quick to plug channels. So Agent, would you care to give yourself a little sale of your channel real quick?
Absolutely. I am Agent Decimal, regional representative of the Villain Defense Foundation. I provide information, support, and advice for upcoming villains. I'm taking a short break from making videos at the moment because I want to go from a simple video to a more complex and more of a better style, which Nerdtorial is basically, he does really good work. I'd like to do work like him, so I'm going to take a short break and teach myself how to do that. But I think I will start a new segment on my channel of a villain defense audit where I will look at modern villains in pop culture, and grade them according to our standards. That should be fun.
Ooh, I'll be looking forward to that. So, copy that link. So yes, if you need any tips for your super villainy, give the agent here a subscription. And Punk Waddle, I'm sorry you missed it, but luckily it'll be on the replay, so you don't have to miss us. We'll be right there waiting for you. Same with you too, Nerdporial. Chris, you wanna take your crack at it?
I am Chris, and I am here on behalf of 540 Studios. This is a friend of mine, Jace's. It's his channel, and I go on there whenever I can to help him out with talking about various geek things. On Thursday evenings, we have a show that we call The Beyond Show, where we talk about what happened in geekdom over the week. On Sundays, we're trying to still figure it out, but on Sundays we explore the Star Wars expanded universe, the true expanded universe, and we talk about what happened going on in there right now. A couple weeks ago we did look over the novel Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. Our next video up, and when we get the chance to go to it, will be about the Force Storm, the comic Force Storm, and what would eventually lead into the events that would be known as the Force Wars between the Jedi followers of the Bogan and the followers of Ashla that would eventually give birth to the Jedi Order.
Sounds like you're going to be going through the chronological history of Star Wars, and if that's the case with the EU, you've got a lot of content you're going to be able to explore and enjoy.
That is the plan.
Oh, that's right up my alley. I've read so many of the EU novels, everything.
Same here.
You two will have to talk more about some Star Wars, and I'll be looking forward to checking out those streams.
Well, I mean, you're always welcome to join whenever you want to. I'm pretty sure Dave supports that.
See, I've only read a couple of novels myself, so I don't know if I would be a good addition to any live stream on this subject. But I'll be happy to listen.
You'd be like a Fenrir. You just come in with limited knowledge and you learn a lot.
Yep. And then interrupt. But I like Fenrir. Oh, I kid the guy. I mean, look, we wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't for him being unaware of Gundam, and so there's a debt to thank Fenrir for, because that finally gave me some niche to start a show over, and I am forever grateful for that idea, and for him being willing to be the guinea pig on this voyage.
And it brought us all together.
Exactly. And
That's
come on. What's
bad he
more
didn't stick
wholesome?
around.
What's more wholesome than coming around together around the ideas of big giant robots and causing children to be traumatized? I can't
Order
think of anything
66?
better.
Order 66 is wholesome.